right, guys, here we are. Got a lot of really good light right here at the sewing machine, which is good, and not so much over here where I'm going to be drawing this. So let's see if we can move some lights around. And put this over here and see if this will help me. That's a little better, not great, but it's just a little lamp from the Goodwill clearance bin, so it's doing the best it can with what it's got available. We'll move the stuff that's creating shadow. All right, this is what we're going to make, and this is half of the piece of fabric that we did yesterday. So Journey was asking what size my fabric was yesterday, and it was an 18-inch square, and I cut that in half, and then I cut that piece in half. So I ended up with 4 9-inch squares, and each bag takes 2 9-inch squares. That's what I came up with for the fabric that I painted. I wish I could get some good light over here. Let's see. Turn that off for right now until we're ready to use it, and then we'll focus on turning the sewing machine light on. I hadn't thought to do that. That works out good. So hi Cheryl, hi Barbara, hi Kendra. I think that's everybody that's here so far. I'm not going to stay on a really long time. I'm going to tell you how to draw up your basic pattern, and we'll put the bag together, the other bag. I just wanted to give some hints and things. So I'm going to go with the concept of an 8.5-inch square in this drawing, but you use whatever size your fabric is. So like you're going to do the same measurements on no matter what kind of square you have to end up with a bag that's sort of this shape. Okay. This came from a 9-inch squares. Okay. So that's what I'm going to, and I'm going to use a piece of notebook paper. So instead, what I'm going to draw would come out smaller than this. But I have already drawn the pattern to make this one. And I'll tell you what I mean by you're going to use the same measurements. So if you we're going to make this an 8.5-inch square to start with. And I'm going to do it without any cutters or anything to show that anybody can do this. So I'm going to turn this into an 8.5-inch square, or is it 8 1/4? I guess we could measure it. No, this is 8-inch, 8 by 10.5. That's weird. Anyway, I'm going to turn this into an 8-inch square. Apparently, I was just going by the standard, notebook size. So we'll make an 8-inch square. And because this is a metal ruler, you could like mark it with a pencil and then come in and cut it along that line. But with the metal ruler, you can just tear it off like that. You save that little bit for a note if you need it. All right. Now, the measurements on this are going to be the same no matter what size your square is, okay? You're going to mark a 2-inch square because we're going to do the flat bottom. So I'm going to do, this is a 2-inch. That way, we'll draw a line. I'm just going to get you the basic pattern size and then come up 2 inches. Like we did the tote, we're doing the squared off bottom again. I just like the squared off bottoms because whatever I did with it. When you square the bottom, it stands on its own, especially if you've used the interfacing, a medium to heavyweight interfacing on the back of your fabric that you painted. it'll give your bag more stability, and it'll give it an ability to stand on its own. All right. So if you have a quilt ruler, I know Barbara's got some, you could just use your quilt ruler, like I've got one down here. Oops, let me see. It's like overkill. But I could take my quilt ruler and just line up. Where's the 2 inches? Here it is. I'm like overkill as all get out. Line up the 2-inch line here and here with the corner of my paper. I have smaller rulers I could pull out, and then just draw around it like that. That's easier than using a ruler, but it works, okay? So this is going to be the bottom of the bag, and we'll cut this and this away. Well, now to get the angled shape like this so that it stands like this, and it actually comes out a little bit on this one, because I found when they go in, the opening is smaller, and this is totally lined. See? It's got pretty blue fabric. And I typically do not line my bags with a dark fabric, but it just looks so pretty with the sparkles. It's got a sparkly fabric on it. And I like the way this turned out. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it this way. All right, so we've marked the 2-inch squares at the bottom. Now I just want you to make a little mark at the top of the bag at 1 inch. Just make a little tick mark from each corner at 1 inch. Then take your ruler, and where you made this line right here and that line those two up. All right. And draw a line. And what right here, we're going to cut away. And we're going to do the same on this side. So line up the line at the top. And then the top of your 2-inch place, your 2-inch mark down at the bottom. Draw a line. And we'll cut this away. All right. So this is your pattern piece. This is the top of the bag. And this is the bottom. All right. And you'll cut 2 from your fabric. It can be your painty fabric or the outside fabric that you want to use. Hi, Val. Hi, Janet. Hi, Cheryl. And anybody else? Barbara Clark. Hello. And you'll cut 2 of lining. And for this bag, I'm using a 7-inch zipper. But if you're making your bag larger, just use the size of zipper that'll go from one side to the other. Okay? And then what else? I'm going to pull this away, and I'm just going to pull out my pattern. So this is a pattern that I actually use to make my little bag. Cut 2 fabric, cut 2 lining. If you have a shorter zipper than on hand, if you have a shorter zipper, to make it work, just attach some 1-inch by 2-inch strips to either end of the zipper, and that'll give you some more room. I am actually going to have to cut off some of the zipper, because even though this is 7 inches, by the time I do my 1/4-inch seams on each side, the zipper is going to be too long. So I did have to cut it off, and I did it at the end over here. And you can see I just sewed over it when I sewed around, and I'll show you how to do that. So I can show you how to shorten, because that's what I'm going to have to do. But if you have a too short a zipper, you can still use it by adding those little pieces of fabric to either end of your zipper. Then you're going to need the zipper, of course, and thread. All right. So now, before we start the construction of the bag, I wanted to say something about the painted fabric. Now, on this one, I did a bunch of fancy machine stitches. on my white sewing machine I have on this other table that I can never not use for regular sewing anymore because the reverse is broken on it. And so I'm just using it to do some quick stitches. I can do buttonholes on it and that kind of thing. So that's where all these fancy looking stitches came from, is I just added those on with that sewing machine really quick last night, just so I'd have this one made up ahead of time so you could see our goal in the end. Now on this other piece, I did slow stitching while I watched Outlander on Netflix. And then I got to thinking I wanted to add some beads. But to make sure the beads were not going to end up in the seam lines, where the seam allowance is, I took my pattern and I just traced around it on the back of my painted paper on the interfacing. And in doing that, then I could cut it out if I wanted to. I didn't. I stitched all these on. I wanted to add the beads. So I slow stitched all these fabric bits and stuff, while watching the TV. And then this morning, I just added some little beads to it here and there. And they're well away from the zipper's going to go and the seam allowances. I just wanted to put the beads on there a little bit. And I used a thread that's made for sewing beads on. So that's one side. And then here's the other side. And see, I just added some, I can't remember what kind of beads those are called, the long tubular ones. So these are all ready to go. There is nothing stitch-wise or beading within any of my seam allowances. So you should have your 2 outside pieces, and then you'll have 2 lining pieces. So there's 2 lining pieces. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab one of each, 1 lining and 1 outside fabric, bugle beads. Okay, cool. Now I have a zipper here, a 7-inch zipper. I bought a bunch of these to make makeup bags, which this little bag would be perfect for a small makeup bag. You have this sparkly fabric. I love it. It was in my quilt fabric. So I'm pulling the zipper out. Get it off from the card that it comes on. Maybe. There we go. Get the aggravating staple that usually will stab me at least once. Let's see here. Why am I having such a hard time? Let's go back this way. All right. There's your zipper. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use some of the magic clips instead of pins so that I don't jab myself a half a dozen times. Make sure you guys can see this way. All right, this is kind of folded up on me. I want to line the end away from the pull and the little tails. I'm going to line these little tails up with the edge of the fabric and then go on up. And you can see I'm going to be well past the pull, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's just get these layered up. So you've got your lining. Ooh, I'm getting hot. Lining fabric up, zipper up, outside fabric down. So remember, up, up, down. And that's face up, face down. So zipper is wrong side to right side on the lining. Right side to right side with the outside. But always remember, face up, face down. And that way you'll get all of your layers together. Okay. So I'm going to line these up with that zipper creased like that. It's going to give me a headache. You headed out, bud? Greg's heading to work. All right. If your food shows up, I'll put it in the fridge and you can have it when you get home. Huh? Okay. I'm just lining up the edges. I kind of want to keep all the layers, even as well along the sides. And I'm probably going to put in way more of these than I need to. Just keeping the edges together. And because we're using 3 layers here, I am going to do a very quick basting stitch so that I'm not dealing with clips under the sewing machine. And I've kind of stabilized the zipper. And again, I'm not worried that my zipper is too long. I'm just going to leave the pull beyond for right now. And I've already threaded up some thread. And I'm going to try to go about in the same position as where the stitching will be. I am not going to remove this basting. It will be locked inside of the little bag forever. So I'm just going to do just a running stitch, a basting. My fingers are sore from stitching all that other stuff by hand. And I should have waxed this so it would not knot on me. Not. You don't want to pull it so tight that you cause your fabric to curl. Up, up, down, right. Lining up, zipper up, fabric face down. And then we're going to baste the zipper between the two. I needed a longer needle. Gina uses a nice big long needle, and that's what I needed to do this basting. Of course, because I'm on camera, my fingers are struggling. I was trying to make this quick today. I am kind of interrupting Lisa and Tanya, but I wanted to make sure we got this bag made. It never works to rush when you're trying to do something live. I'm just going down and then back up, kind of just tacking it in place so that the zipper doesn't shift when I'm sewing. I do have my zipper foot installed on my machine with the needle in position so it goes down on, when I'm looking at the foot, it's on the left side of the foot. So here's the foot. This is the right side of the foot. This is the left side of the foot. And I have my needle positioned to go through the hole on the left side of my zipper foot. And I'm just going to make that work throughout as we go here. And because this is a basting, when I get to the end, I'm not even going to bother tying a knot. I'm just going to leave a little bit of a tail and we'll move on. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm not losing a hold of making sure the zipper's lined up with the edge. Oops, that lining's. If you want to, you could add stabilizer to the lining as well. I don't usually. I just use it on the outside fabric because it would be real hard to turn it right side out if everything's got that thick stabilizer on it. Okay. And so I've got that in there. I'm just going to snip a tail there. And I probably have enough to do the other side. All right, so we're going to turn this on now. This is what I call my leader ender. I put that in there just to have something to sew on so that when you're coming off from the zipper, you can sew off onto this, and then you never have to worry about your thread coming undone when you go to stitch. I am going to lift this up, pull my needle out of the fabric, and just pull this back out of the way. Maybe. Got to pull it forward a little bit. There we go. I just need to pull it back a little bit. I am going to now, the zipper foot is going to go as close to the teeth as I can get. Or you can line the right side of the zipper foot with the edge of your fabric. That's about the best place to do. And then you just start stitching. Oh, you do want to come in the seam allowance width. So if you're doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, start sewing a 1/4 inch in from the edge. You've got to leave that seam allowance free so that when we sew the sides of the bag together, you still have that pathway. If you started sewing a break in the line where you needed to stitch. I am going to do a couple back stitches here to stabilize, the stitches at the beginning, and then just sew across. Oh no, now see, I did it. I went too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let's go ahead and sew off onto this. I'll just stick this in here and sew some more on it. I did not backstitch because I went too far. I'm just going to pick a couple of these stitches back out because I've got to have that seam allowance. See, even somebody that's used to sewing makes boo-boos. Everything can be fixed. That's why they make things to unmess ourselves here. And what I will do is I'm going to go back in and just do a forward and back a little bit to stabilize these stitches, but not go all the way to the end again. So if I just go on top of the stitches that are already there, and I've got all kinds of crazy thread in here. So now I've stitched, and you can see on this side, I've got orange in my bobbin along here. That's where I stitched, and I got white on this side. Now you're going to take your outside fabric and just fold it back and expose your zipper here. And I'm just finger pressing. And then you turn it over and do the same on this side and pull your lining back away from where the zipper's teeth are and just smooth it out. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to get these lined up so it's nice and flat. If you want to, you can put a couple pins or clips or something on here to kind of hold your layers so the lining doesn't shift. Just maybe put a pin there. I'm just trying to make sure both sides are pulled away from the teeth. And I'm going to do some top stitching, okay? And again, you want to come in away from that edge. So you come in about a 1/2 inch to do your top stitching, and you're going to stitch really close to the edge. That's why I'm going to do it with the zipper foot still on, because I can come in close, and I'm just going to stitch, and it will go through all of these layers, and there'll be a top stitch on the back, bright orange. And I didn't think it mattered since this is a painty paper thing, or painty paper, not paper, fabric. And then we'll do the same procedure on the other side. So I'm going to pull this back some, come in about a 1/2 inch and set your foot down. And I'm not going to need that pin on this end anymore. Come on. And I always do a couple stay stitches, go backwards. And I'm making sure my layers are still together on the bottom. And then just stitch along. Close to the edge. What this does is it keeps your fabric from coming up and getting caught in the zipper, okay? Now again, stop about a 1/2 inch from the end. Do a couple stabilizing stitches. And because I'm stopping short, I'm not going to be able to sew off onto my thing. Oh, I didn't make sure my needle was at the highest position. I'm probably going to have to rethread. And I'll show you guys what this looks like. It doesn't look like I caught the back very good though. See, I missed the back some. I started off good, and then I went crazy. I'm not going to worry about that. You can worry yourself to death over things like that. If it bothers you, go over it again with stitches, or you could take your seam ripper and pull it all the way out. I always figure it's on the inside. I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, my needles come unthreaded. I'm so glad I have glasses that actually work now. I quit sewing for the longest time before I got glasses because I couldn't see to thread my own needle. All right, but see the outside where you're going to see it is all good. You guys see this top stitching really close to the edge? Hi, Suze. All right, so now let's do the same thing again on this other side. So up, outside of the zipper is up. And you'll kind of also, when you're doing the other side, kind of line up your sides. Oh, let's turn this off. There you go. Line up the sides of your bag. And generally, I stand up to do this kind of thing so that I'm getting everything kind of lined up good. And then get your edge lined up as close as you can get it. And then lay your other top on here, your other piece. All the little fiddly bits. Put some clips on it. Hold your layers together. Zippers just are fiddly. That's all there is to it. Just take your time. If it's the first time you've put a zipper in, if you take your time, if it feels like it's going awry, just stop and take a look at it. This is a funny story, you guys. My birthday is Monday, and my mother called me today. poor thing. She said she had it written really big on the calendar, and apparently it was big enough that it went all the way back to the 4th. All right. So now I've got it clipped in place. I'm just going to do a quick oh, you're doing your spring cleaning? Suze is doing her spring cleaning. Again, this is just a running stitch to kind of hold it all together. Technically, I have been known to just go straight in and sew with pins or whatever, holding the zipper in. But Mary is right about basting on this. Uh-oh. All right. That's my son's Chinese food that he didn't get. So I'll be right back. Hi, Cole. I'll let Greg know that it arrived at 4 o'clock, the time he has to be at work. Oh, well. It'll be here when he comes home. He'll have to heat it up, of course, but anyway. Well, thank you for the birthday wishes. And does anybody have any questions while I'm popping in basting stitches? Isn't it funny how the older you get, you have to stop and, how old am I? And I have to do the math. Because I can't remember anymore. I guess because I just don't feel like it's important anymore to keep track of the number. I'm just glad I'm here for another year. Hopefully. Scott was talking about we might go back up to the Greenville area and do some of the stuff that we enjoyed about Greenville, like the Travelers Rest Goodwill, or go to Pizza House up there, or Tito's. But I don't know if I want to do that or not. I was thinking I might like to go over the weekend because he's working some crazy shift on my birthday. So I was kind of glad Tanya and Lisa were putting together that streamathon, because he said I'm not going to see him at all on my birthday. So I was thinking over this weekend, maybe we go to Old Mill Antique Mall. All right, so let's go back to the machine. I've basted it. Got the base stitches in there. Now again, come in from your end, 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and line it up and sew across. Go back a few stitches. Got to remember to stop when I get down here a ways. Okay. Do a couple back stitches. All right, I'm going to just turn this with the needle in here, and then I'm going to sew off from it onto my fabric. Okay. Again, and we're going to fold these back. Let's see that we got through all of the layers, which we did. So here's the outside of the bag. And we'll finger press that again. And then fold this side of the lining back. And what that does, let's pop this light off. Okay. Now we've pushed and folded these back. So I've got to do the top stitching yet. And I'll turn the light back on when I do that. But you just want to fold this back away from the zipper and fold your other fabric back. And because this has the stabilizer on it, when I finger press it, it stays pretty good. So now I'm going to do, again, start kind of right at where this zipper is. That's about a 1/2 inch in, and top stitch and stop about a 1/2 inch from the end. That way you're not affecting the seams that we're going to put in next. All right, so now let me stitch this top stitching again. Just need to be able to get this in here. Oh, I got it in the wrong way. All right, I need this smooth again. I'm going to try to not put any pins in it this time. Just hold it. I'll cut that fabric out of y'all's way here in just a sec. All right. There we go. Make sure I'm flat here. Trying to make sure I keep all my layers flat. Why can't I get you to do like you're supposed to? There we go. That's better. Cut that one. Whoops. That one I did a little better on getting my stitches on the fabric. That part's hard to do when you can't see everything. So now we're going to flip this over. And so now our zipper needs to be opened now. If you don't open the zipper at this point, if you don't open the zipper now, you're going to be in trouble. So get your zipper, and I'm going to leave it the zipper pull at about the halfway. That way it cannot affect anything as far as the seams go. So right sides together. So put your two painty fabrics together. And you can use pins or clips or whatever. Clips are kind of nice because then you don't have to stab yourself a million times. Then we're going to do the side over here. And I'll put some on this other side here. All right, now on your zipper here, the fabric with the interfacing is stronger than the lining, okay? So what's happened here is the zipper, just line up the top of the two painty fabrics like so. And what'll happen is they're just folding over. Do you see they're folding toward the painty paper on the painty paper? I keep saying paper, but fabric. So just get all of that nice and smooth. Kind of meet up everything. And we'll put another clip right on that there, right where that seam allowance, the seam allowance is folding over. Get all of the layers to fold toward your fabric that you painted, or your outside fabric if you're not using painty paper. And then what I like to do is line up the bottom of the lining. Do the bottom section first. And this is just like our tote. We're going to sew, but avoid the squares that we cut out on the corner. We're going to avoid those while we sew the sides and the bottoms. And because this bag is narrow, I'm going to leave my opening on the side. But I found out with doing the other bag that you need to make sure you come down a ways on the side here. So I might put a pin where I'm going to start and stop just so you guys can see. I'm coming down about 1.5 inches from the zipper to here. That's where I'll start. And then I'm going to do just a tiny little bit of stitching and leave I'm going to leave about that much of it. Oh, sorry. I'm going to leave this much open, maybe a little bit more, because that fabric is hard to turn. I'm sorry. I didn't know I'd gotten off the side. So we'll, instead of leaving a section on the bottom open, we'll do it on the side. And then once you turn the bag, once we're done with all the stitching and we make that turn, I hand stitched the opening closed. All right. So then on this other side, we're just going to clip it because we're going to sew all this whole length. All right. So now you got all of these clips on. All right. We're going to start here. We're going to sew up over the zipper down this side and stop here. Do a reverse stitch back and forth here and where you started. Really where you started, you really need to go back and forth a couple times so that this hole doesn't pull out on you. And then what you'll do is you'll turn, ignore the square, and you're going to stitch the bottom. Start and stops there. You know, go forward and back a couple times to lock your stitches in. Then you're going to ignore this square, and then you're going to stitch this entire side up over the zipper here. And when you get to the zipper, sometimes you have to kind of just go slow and kind of push it through and maybe physically pull it a little bit because you're going over a lot of layers. Unless you have one of those Gina-majig things, that might help you if you've got one of those. And then just sew until you get here. And again, you'll ignore the square, sew the bottom, and then just sew a little bit on this side and make sure you lock the stitches in. Then we'll come back and we'll do the next thing. Oh, also switch foot. Switch your foot from the zipper foot back to your regular standard sewing foot. Let's see if I can get this on here. Now the white machine, it's a pop on, but this one I have to remember that you have to screw it on. All right, so I'm going to start over here at the blue pin where I said I would start. Ouch. That's the thing about pins. They'll stab you. And I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam, which means I'm lining the inside part of the foot with the edge of the fabric because the distance between the edge of the foot and the needle position is a 1/4 inch. And I'll answer some questions here in a minute. So let's sew this around. I'm going to go ahead and take some of these out. And again, go backwards, go forwards to lock those stitches in. All right, now here we're going to go up over this pile of zipper. You're sewing over the zipper too. Go carefully because you don't want to break a needle. And I did a couple backwards because I'm going to cut the zipper, remember. I'm going slow. There you go. We're over the zipper. This is a plastic zipper. If it was metal, I don't think I would do that, but all right, I'm not going to cut that because I don't want it to come unthreaded on me. I am going to peek and make sure I've stitched through all the layers. Okay. Now I'm sewing along the bottom of the fabric here, of the bottom of the bag. Go forward and reverse, and then just stitch across. Okay. Going to ignore our square in the corner. I'm going to line this up. All right, now the zipper pieces and the fabric is all pointing in that direction. So you have to be careful that they stay that way, because sometimes when the seam is facing that direction, when you go to feed it in the feed dogs, it'll flip your seam back toward you, and you want it to stay the same on both ends of your zipper. You want this seam allowance to point in the same direction, or your opening and closing of your bag might get a little dicey. So just sew along. Slow down because we're at the zipper. I'm going to move that out of my way. All right. It's acting like I've run out of bobbin, but I haven't. Don't you hate that when you're sewing along and you look and there's the bobbin thread on and you think you're done, and I'm getting pins all over the floor. Oh, well. They're plastic ones. All right. Ignore your square in the corner. Come around to the bottom of the thing here. We'll clip all these threads here in just a second. I'm going to line this up here. All right. Now the pin here tells me I only need to sew a little ways up because we're back at the opening. All right, so we're going to sew a little bit. And then stop. We're not going to sew anymore. All right, so let's see if I can pull this out of here. I'll do some snipping of threads. This is how I end up getting thread all over the house, because I just snip it and then go do my stuff, and it sits on my socks and ends up in the kitchen and in the bathroom. And Scott will say, some's even made it to bed with us. All right, I'm going to snip my tails here a little bit. All right. I'm going to grab a pair of my non-sewing scissors to cut that zipper off. And these, turn this light off, Becky. Okay, there, now you can see. We're going to cut the zipper off so it's even with the edge of the bag. But I want to use some scissors that are not my good fabric scissors because I'm going to cut through those plastic teeth. So I'm just going to cut it like that. Boom, it's gone. All right, we're not going to turn it right side out yet. We're not ready for that, okay? Oh, you missed me changing from the zipper foot? My zipper foot on this old machine has the little thing that fits over the bar that comes down. And then my other one, just, I unscrew it. And see, it's got the same little thing that goes over the bar that comes down. This is a low shank machine. And this is my zipper foot. And this little thing here is adjustable. So you have to decide, do you want the needle to come down on the right side or the left side? And then you just move this back and forth on here to set the position. And you have to do all of that by hand, use your hand wheel and always turn your hand wheel towards you because that's how your machine operates. If you turn it back, you'll flip the tension in the wrong direction and then it'll mess up all your threading. It could mess up the timing and all that. So always, when you're turning your hand wheel on the side of your machine, you have to turn it towards you. And when you're setting this up, you want to do that by hand. Never do it with your foot pedal because if you're off a little bit and you hit this, you could jam your machine up. You could bend the needle. You could break the needle and send it flying and hurt yourself. A flying needle going at a rate of speed is not a good thing. And so when I put this foot on, it just it's got an opening here and there's a set screw and I just slide it around there so that where it has that little rounded area is hugging the bar. And then I just tighten my set screw. And this is just a standard sewing foot now. Some machines have where there's a button on the back and you push the button and the foot would drop off. That's how my white machine works. So you have to refer to your machine that you have. Yours works like this. Yours must be an oldie but goodie too, Barb. So that's how you switch them on this. This is a dressmaker from 1982. And I'm going back to her because my brand new one that's still several years old has fallen apart. A plastic piece broke that is not being made anymore. All right, let's get back to the bag. Okay, we can't, as they say, we cannot birth this bag until we finish. All right, so open the square. Okay, so this is the bottom. And this is the side. You open it up. Decide which direction you want your seams to go. So I always make the bottom, when I'm on the bottom like this, fold whichever way it decides. And okay, it wants to go back that way. So then when I bring my side to the bottom, I want the side to go in the opposite direction of whatever the bottom decides it wants to do. I got a piece of fuzz going up my nose. I've got a piece of fabric bits there. All right, flatten this out. And I'm just going to sew along the edge. I think I'll trim this here that's kind of wonky. And if we put a couple clips on it, you can use pins if you want to. And you do this on all four corners. So it's like that. So let's come over here. And again, and once you decide which way that bottom's going to go, make sure that fold stays the same. You don't want to put a twist in it like that because then your bag won't sit flat because it'll have this ridge in the middle. You want to make sure it comes across and folds flat. and then fold this one the opposite direction. I've got some lace here in the corner. It's giving me a headache. All right. So just get it nice and flattened out, just like that. So you've matched your side and your bottom up. And add some clips. All right. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do the lining too. Same way. Get your side seam allowance going one direction and your bottom the other, so that they lock together. When you get two seams that come together, if you can make them lock together, it just makes your life so much easier when it comes to sewing. All right, one more. Make sure this is going the same way. So that's laying flat across the bottom. And then we'll just match these up. And so they just kind of, when I say they lock together, the edge of one seam locks against the edge of the other seam allowance, and it keeps it, see, it locks it so it doesn't shift as much. If they were going in the same direction, you'd also be sewing through a lot of fabric, and you want to reduce that whenever possible. Now, next Wednesday, we're going to paint on fabric again, but what I'm planning to do with next week is I've come up with a pattern for a nice size project bag, and I'm going to prepare my fabric to that pattern size. And I'm going to tell you guys what size the pieces of fabric will need to be. And what we're going to do is we're going to maybe paint a scene or something on our fabric next week to make the project bag on Thursday. And I think I'm going to try to do an 11 o'clock so that I can be off before Tanya and Lisa are. I don't know what Scott's schedule is, but I'm going to play it by ear and see if it's something I can do while he's still here, because it will just be painting and playing anyway. All right, again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Get the light on. And I'm just going along the edge of the fabric. I don't know what happened to my leader ender to sew off on. There it is. And just snip it. And snip it. Almost missed it here. We're going to go with it because this is just the lining. But just examine your seams. And when I say I almost missed it, see how close I am to the edge there? We might just come on here. None of this stitching is going to be seen, so I'm going to sneak and add a little bit more here. There we go. All right. And we'll do the other side. You just want to make sure you are not catching any of your bag fabric under the foot. If you do, you'll have to rip it out and with the seam ripper and try again, because it'll cause a wrinkle. Let's see, this is all getting crazy here. Let's see here. How do I get this all so crazy? There we go. That's better. And yes, I should have just put it on my fabric here. So before I cut that, I'll just sew on there. Then it can't snag it out my way. All right, so the lining, it looks pretty good. Now we got to do the bag. The blue is the lining, yes. I'll show you guys here in a minute the finished bag that I did this morning. The ones that are just getting here, I made a bag this morning. We're using the outside of the bag is the painty fabric that we made yesterday. We did a pick 10 on fabric. I think I've got one more seam. Yeah. One more seam. Just know that if you use the interfacing on the fabric, it does make it stiff. All right. So you got, this is what the bag's going to be here. Okay. So now we're going to birth our bag, which means if you were smart and you have left your zipper open on your bag, you can go in here. I almost didn't leave it open enough. Let's see here if I can get. There we go. Let's see if I can open it some more. I might not have left it open far enough to get it turned. Let's see if we can get it through that little opening. Just go slow. You don't want to damage your zipper or rip any seams out or any of that. And like I said, this is going to take a little bit of work because I've got that interfacing on here. Just take your time. And maybe leave your zipper open on just a little bit more than Becky did. I also have beads on this one. I forgot about it. You don't want to damage your beads either. It's coming. Say it's not a race. There we go. You want to bring your lining to the outside. Like so. We want to get the zipper flip so we can open it some more. There we go. There we go. Work your corners out. You can go in with like a knitting needle, or if you have a corner turner, you have to just get through that tiny opening that we left to flip this bag. All right. Isn't that fun? It's got a piece that's got some rips on it. I mean, some threads hanging from it. That looks interesting. There's the little flowery beads that I did. All right. Now, before you push your lining inside, find your opening over here. And what you'll do is just kind of, if you pull gently, the quarter inch will actually fold over on itself, and then just pinch them together. And put some clips on it. And you can take it to your machine and sew it if you don't mind seeing the stitches. I just took a needle and thread and just kind of sewed it closed. We'll do that real quick here. Any questions? I think it'd be fun if we could come up with a theme for the project bag. Like maybe we'll do spring, and I could do like a spring theme. I think I've got enough paint colors. Yeah, you can use a crochet hook, a knitting needle, or if you have a turner thing, you can use like this. These work too. Use what you have. Don't go out and buy a bunch of new stuff, especially if you don't know if you want to really get into sewing or anything. Let me grab some blue thread, which I thought I had here. I must have put it back like a nincompoop. That's okay. It'll give me a chance to move. No, it's not there. I thought I had left it down. Here it is. Oh, and it's got the needle in it that I couldn't find earlier. Ah, I forgot all about it. It's all good. All right. I even have a piece of thread in it. Let's move you guys over here closer. Come over here. Come closer. Well, and the machine light's off. Janet UK. Hello. Must be getting late for you, Janet. Hi, Peg. So yesterday we did painted fabric, and today we're turning it into these little bags. I made 2 bags. I know Mary's planning to do a single project bag, I think. And I kind of hide my knot down inside. I just push it inside the seam. And then I'll stitch a small stitch on one side, and then I'll jump to the other side and just take a small stitch. And I just do that all along this opening to seal it up. And as I said, some people just take it to their machine and they just sew across the opening. And even bought purses, if you look at your lining, they don't have women sit there and just gently hand sew an opening close. They just do it on the machine. And that's why if you look in even an expensive bag, they do that. They're not going to pay somebody an extra $2 to stitch up all them bags. I think I'll whip stitch across the opening to finish this one off. So I'll just come up a little ways and go from one side back to the other. That'll take less time, and it's because I'm using about the same color thread, you're not going to be able to see it too well. That's the bad part. If you want it to look good, don't make it part of your tutorial. If you're doing a tutorial, try to use contrasting threads so it's visible. I'll do that next time if I do another one of these. You guys seem to be enjoying learning some sewing techniques and how to draw your own patterns. One time, Greg's class was doing Florida Sea Life. I don't know why they were doing Florida Sea Life, but he wanted Mom to sew a manatee. I went looking for a manatee pattern, never could find one. I ended up drafting one myself, and that became the favorite toy in the library at his middle school. That they thought that was a real hoot that Greg's mom could do that kind of thing. Let's see, I grew up with my grandmother and my great aunts. So I learned all of the homemakery type stuff. And my great aunt Nellie, she was a quilter, and she would come and she would cook she would be the one in the sap house cooking the syrup down. And what else did I learn? I learned to play pitch with my great aunt Beatrice. Can I play pitch now? No, I can't even remember the rules. You're not a sewer, but you're enjoying the tutorials? Well, we might have to continue them and come up with some other things. I desperately need a pincushion for my wrist. So I was thinking we could do a pincushion to wear on your wrist. Make like an elastic, almost like a hair scrunchie to put around your wrist with a pincushion attached to it. I might work on designing that myself here. I mean, there's probably plenty of free patterns, but I kind of enjoy coming up with the patterns myself. Once you learn one way to do a specific bag or pincushion or whatever, you can alter it and make it your own. Janet Nash did that with the little totes we did last week. She made some tiny little totes, and you could make some little ones that would even hold this, like a gift card. I mean, she had some really cute ones. You guys should go watch Janet Nash from Monday. She was showing her totes that she made with me, or after she watched me. So she did some really cute ones. All right, and I tied a knot by putting the needle in and then wrapping the thread around about 3 times and then pulling it tight so the knot is against the fabric. And then I just put the needle in the fabric and come down a ways to hide the tail inside. And that's how you finish that off. And then you just push the bag, the lining down inside the bag. All right. Oh, we got to work this corner up some. Just keep fiddling with it until you get everything pressed out. So if you press too hard with like a knitting needle or a crochet hook, you can poke through. So this is from a 9-inch, 2 9-inch squares of fabric. So here's the one I added the beads. Now, like I said at the beginning, if you wanted to add beads to add the blingity bling sparkle, I would trace your pattern piece on the back and maybe even cut it out, your actual pieces out, then add your beads and stay away from seams and that kind of stuff. I also added some of the fabric glitter glue in the gold, and I just made little lines here and there. I think that added a little bit of shine. So this is the blingity bling one, and this is just the decorative stitch one. So I got two little bags here out of the 18-inch square that we did yesterday. Now, the little charm here, I don't know where I got all of these. I know somebody swapped with me a bunch of charms. So I have a box that's nothing but a bunch of charms. And I've been using them with, what are the Scouts? What are these called? Lariat clips. Or this clip like this. I don't know what they're called. If somebody knows, put it in the chat. So I'm adding a zipper charm onto them. And so I went looking in my charms and I added another one of those clips. And this one's got a kitty cat on it. And I just clip it on the zipper pull like so. And that was that. That's what we made. Whoop, whoop. I swear one looks shorter than the other, but they shouldn't be. They should be the same size. Becky, can you just square off the corners to make the bottom flat? Are you talking about where you pull the side out and then sew across? You can, but because of the way I did this, to get it in this shape, you kind of have to come out. You have to make your angles, your sides at an angle. I would imagine if you went and just had angled sides and then did that method where you take the sides and flatten them and sew across, it may still work. I would have to try that. Yeah, I've done it that way before. And then when I discovered this way of doing it, I just kind of liked doing it this way. So you have to find out which way you like to do it best and go from there. Isn't the bottom being wide like that neat? It does stand up. So like if you were using this for like a makeup bag, you could set it on the counter. The thing that's giving it its stability is that kind of medium weight interfacing that I put on the back of that muslin. Simply because that muslin that I have, like I was saying yesterday, Joann's does this thing around Christmas time where they'll have buy-bolt muslin prices. And that muslin is really, really cheap, you guys. And that's why they sell it like that. So if you're going to get it to do something like this, plan on putting some kind of interfacing behind it. Hi, Kathy. So these were a ton of fun to do. I would love to make more bags with painted fabric. Next week on Wednesday, we'll plan on doing the project bag project. Oh, and I was going to tell you guys what size to cut your fabric and prepare it. When I say prepare your fabric, you should always pre-wash your fabric to remove the sizing. So pre-wash your fabric and apply your interfacing. Do not use fabric softener. If you use fabric softener when you do your pre-wash, what'll happen is the interfacing, if it's iron-on interfacing, it won't stick. Does that make sense? So no fabric softener, just a little bit of soap, pre-wash your fabric, apply some interfacing, and I've got that medium to heavy weight. You don't want super heavy because that would be really hard to turn right side out. So let me grab this information. Hopefully I can find it. And I'll show that interfacing again that I use. drawer did I put it in? Here it is. It doesn't have its label on it, so I can't tell you. I think it's Decor Bond, but I could be wrong. I think Decor Bond is a little bit heavier. But this is the weight. See how it kind of folds? This is dirty. That's why I'm not going to use it. That'll probably get put in the trash or cut away. But it's got adhesive on one side. You put that on the back of your fabric. And this is what gives it its structure. So there's that. And here is the project bag size that I found I needed to do to make French seams. We won't be doing French seams. We'll just be turning this into a project bag with a lining this time. So, and it'll be a flat bag. There won't be any corners. So the rectangles, I'm going to prepare 2 rectangles that are 17 inches by 12 inches. And I'm going to use the muslin just like I did yesterday. I'm going to use that for this because I still have some on that bolt. I might as well use it. And you'll need let's just say use a 14-inch zipper on this, and I will use some 1-inch by 2-inch pieces of fabric to extend it if we need to. And I'll show you how to extend a zipper with fabric for a bag next time. And we won't be doing French seams. We'll just cut. We'll use whatever we paint on 2 pieces this size. And then I'll just pull some fabric of whatever you have on hand in a cotton, like quilter's cotton, in the same size. I have like a life supply under our bed, just saying. That's why I say just a quilter's fabric. So again, the size of each rectangle is 17 by 12. So if you wanted to prepare a piece 17 by 24, then you could paint the whole thing and then cut it in half. Like we could do like a background on the whole thing and then cut it in half and then maybe paint a seam kind of toward the middle on each side and then make a bag. I think that'll be fun. So just plan on 17 by 24 inch piece of some kind of white or muslin fabric and then put some interfacing of some sort to give your bag some structure. If you don't, it'll be like my project bags from last week. They'll be all kind of floppy. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I've been on longer than I anticipated. And anyway, these are so cute. These are so stinking cute. These are so cute. Well, I want to keep this one, but let's do a giveaway, and I'll give this one away. Y'all want to do a giveaway, and then we'll wrap it up. Do you guys want to do a quick giveaway? I'm going to write a number down on this piece of paper. I'm not going to show y'all, but I'm going to write it down. So starting now, put a number in between 1 and 100. And I'm not going to look. I'm just going to write a number on here. And then I'll fold it up, and then I'll roll back over here to y'all. Woo! Cheryl says, oh, I will stay. So I'm giving away the one with the red bead on it, and I'm going to keep the one with the beading on it. I think I will add beading to some more bags that I make, but I really like that one. And it's got the kitty cat. I got to keep that one. What am I going to put in it? I have no idea. So this has got the number in it. So make sure you put a number in before you leave and hang around to see if you won. And it's closest without going over. Let's see, we only got 21 people in here. Is that everybody that wants to play? If you want to play, hurry up. I'm going to keep this pattern again because I love this size bag. I'm going to have to make some more of these. This is a lot of fun. Woo! All right, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds to put a number in between 1 and 100. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2.5. 1, 0. Okay, stop. All right, I put the stop in. Okay, so, and the winner is 57, and Peg Robinson got that dead on. So Peg wins 57. She got it exactly on. So Peg, I'll get this in the mail to you. I think your address is out there somewhere. Or I have it in my address book. Woohoo! All right. So thank you guys for coming and joining. Let's go see if Tanya and Lisa are still going strong over there. And I will see some of you tomorrow morning. If you're in my Facebook group and are up and want around, I think I've got it starting at 8 o'clock. I will open the room in Aunt Beck's Creations, and anybody can come and craft and sit and chat. It's usually Janet Nash, Janet Baum. Who else has joined us? Ruth Lamb. So anyway, if you're in my Facebook group, we'll be having a craft and chat tomorrow morning. And hopefully I won't disturb Scott too much, but it's something I had put on my calendar, so I'm going for it. So thank you guys so much. See you later.